Okay, kita pergi yang belah sana. Yes, sir.
Okay, nama saya Zuharudin. Saya mungkin ada simple question.
Tak apa.
Ini sebab last few months government dah introduce new kind of salary scheme gaji baru. Okay, daripada bermula 800 hingga ke 1100. Basically we know dekat KL ni below 4000 masih lagi poverty level.
Aduh, rasa saya
Below 4000 masih lagi poverty level. Dengan kadar gaji 800 ataupun 900 tu, boleh tak kita stop corruption accidentally? Macam Miss Catherine kata tadi, you mau bayar 300 ataupun RM50. RM50 I collect satu orang, nanti 10 orang mari, I sudah dapat RM500. Okay, that is my first question. How we can stop?
Okay.
And one more thing, because this happened to my son. Okay, dia baru darjah 3, but kids nowadays they are smart, tak tahu apa yang dia makan lah.
Atau apa yang dia tengok TV lah, Astro.
So dia tanya, Papa, apa duit kopi? Okay, in that particular age, saya tak mustahil at level of 48.9%. It's not wrong to accept gift. Gift is not money, in kind. Okay, for apply tenders or contract. Maksudnya kalau aku dapat projek ni, kau dapat satu handphone ke apa ke macam tu. But mungkin bercuti dekat Hawaii ke, so something like that.
Pergi umrah.
Yeah, something like that. More mulia sikit lah kan.
Cuci dosa.
Because it's happened to me in reality, because when I did my plan submission, which is I did my architect works, right? So the person in front of the counter, basically one of the local authority in Klang Valley, which is maybe famous lah, especially in Selangor lah, not Klang Valley.
Okay.
Klang Valley. So bila kita sampai, when I submit my plan, dia kata, Cik, macam mana saya punya plan approval? Kita tahu tempoh dia mungkin 1 bulan atau ke 6 bulan ataupun akan diberitahu kemudian. Tarikh yang tidak diketahui. So the person actually waiting. I have my client, Zohar, bila I punya rumah nak approval? So I pergi lagi. Bila pergi lagi dia tanya, I tengok YDP dah ada, dia patut sign I punya plan. Oh, YDP tak ada. Then dia punya kereta ada. So I don't have that mechanism. So the third time, my friends introduce me, Zohar, kalau kau nak cepat, kau kena bagi satu benda. Okay, but this one you must be very, very, very extremely brave. That's why I raised my hand just now when Ravi asking the question, who ada pernah bagi? So I fold up my 10 ringgit notes. Okay. 10 ringgit note in the sum of 500.
And you give them.
Okay. So I try to be berani. So I pergi dekat counter, cik, macam mana I punya plan? I rasa YDP belum sign lagi lah. Okay. Kalau dengan I slap that money on top of her table, kalau dengan ni jalan tak jalan? So she was shocked. Sekejap cik punya plan sudah siap. So you see that kind of situation with that kind of low level income earners. I'm not saying I am high income earners. If I'm 4,000 salary, I'm still below poverty level.
Well, that's debatable. So especially when I hear that, I really think that's
meaning to say, government sebenarnya dia tak macam tak boleh nak lari accept this kind of token. So macam mana when cik, what's his name just now? Okay, Cik Ahmad cakap tadi, ada 1000 lebih surat yang akan hantar, about 200. So this kind of thing yang akan difilteriskan. Okay. So and berkenaan duit kopi tadi, adakah pemandu going through to the, macam pepatah Melayu kata, lentur buluh daripada rebung dia. how does this kind of campaign can penetrate into the primary school level?
Okay.
Because on the our level side, when we talk rasuah, people know, and for them, the implication they cannot imagine yet. How bad the bribe implication? Thank you.
Okay. I want to give a feedback on the plans and local authority. Now, if it's not DBKL, if I'm not mistaken, if you say MPAJ or MPSJ or any Majlis Perbandaran, they will have a quite independent board of directors, kan? So the board of directors is usually comes from the winning adun.
Some sort.
So the state government, by the way, the state government will appoint the aduns. They punya authorities. So let's just say you have trouble that side. Usually it's a knock on the door among politicians. Yeah. Go see your adun or go see the state government. And you say, you know, I have this really big problem and this problem. Usually when it comes to voting, they'll push it down. And if that's the other way, like going through politicians. Because if you want to go past the civil servants, they have this overseeing. Unless, of course, they are also in cahoots, then that's a big problem. But yeah, okay. To his question, one is on the
scales.
Scales.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think some of our frontliners' pay scales are low, right? But what do? Do we just say, okay, across the board, let's just raise the pay when the income is not necessarily there, right? So that is, again, I go back to my beginning of my presentation, that is part and parcel of this national transformation program. We got to make Malaysia a high-income country, right? High income. Today, Malaysians, the average Malaysian takes home 1,400 ringgit per month, right? We got to change that to 4,000 ringgit per month before 2020. And in order to do that, we've got to invest 1.7 trillion ringgit into the economy. Right? That is the government transformation, the economic transformation. And then 444 billion US dollars, right? So basically what that translates to is private sector funding 92% of this entire growth engine. Right? So our entire transformation, our economic transformation is driven by the private sector. Right? So we can't make these civil servant salaries, much higher until we get to higher income status.
But the barang cannot control.
Yeah. So basically we need other measures like this. And yes, as you pointed out, your son, right? It's sad, that they know about copy money, duit copy, right? But what we are doing as part of the next wave of government transformation, we are taking it to the preschool level. Right? Why is it when I was growing up, the 5 principles, our rukun negara is ingrained here. Kepercayaan kepada Tuhan, kesetiaan kepada raja dan negara, keluhuran perlembagaan. Right? It's here. How come our kids don't know that? Right? And when I was growing up, it was not just here, it was here. Today, what am I doing? Working for government. It is for king and country. Right? So we've got to get our kids to start thinking the same way. Unfortunately, they haven't too good. They haven't gone through what we went through. The various struggles. But we've got to enlighten them to understand that it's not good to give, nor is it good to take.
Ya, sambung daripada apa yang Mr. Rami cakap tadi saja. Kalau kita tengok daripada GTP1, kita hanya ada 3 work stream, which are government procurement, grant corruption, and law enforcement agency. For GTP2 kita tambah satu specific on education. We have 4 work streams now. 1 work stream specifically looking into education. Education not only, like Ravi said, starting from young, right, from preschool or primary school, kita juga tengok how do you educate the politicians,
lawmakers.
Today,
yeah, we're going to do that.
you know, when you are elected into the parliament, you don't go through a training on, you know, this is the do's and don'ts, this is how you don't take, this is how you don't pass.
Surprise.
There is no such training.
I see.
So what we're doing is we want to introduce our politicians, our lawmakers, to some formal training. Get Attorney General, Auditor General, MACC, Institute of Integrity, all come. Train our lawmakers. Let's start there as well.
Right, I'll take this 2 questions from Benjamin. Right, sir. Okay, sure.
Regarding the incremental of salary, I think even though if increment salary is something, there's one effect, is that but last time, 2007, the incremental was 50%, or the price are hiking up. Last time, I don't believe 4,000 was the poverty level. Then, if like salary will be hiking up again, price will be hiking up again, and then poverty level also will be hiking up again. So I think that rather than we go for the effect of salary price, we just check the cost why the price are hiking up. I think maybe this can help.
Okay,
This is
sure.
just my
2 cents.
because from economy, I'm learning about this economy. And so because just now she really went down, one question, because I'm learning accounting, there's a few other cases that we discussed. One, and also related to this too, for the student. Okay, there's one question, and I really argue, one question about this. If our overseas country are these accepting prices or incomes or anything could smoothen out their activities, should we, from a different country, try to adapt to the culture? Yeah, they did say it's okay to adapt to the culture, but yeah, I do agree. I did argue because if the authorities in our country find out how is it, so just on my comment, I wish that some of my friends already thinking it's okay. If we go to the country, we can do it if that's the culture. I believe that even they might also have the same kind of situation in Malaysia, and yeah, this might happen.
So your comment is that the reason why some of this corruption happens is because it's embedded in the culture, is it?
Yeah, something.
Which gives to the the story about China just now. Can your question, sir?
Question, yeah, just my opinion, just some.
Oh, that's a comment.
Just a comment.
That's a comment. Okay, sure. So problem with the culture. I think we can address that with this gentleman's question behind. Yes, sir.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Okay, saya daripada UiTM nak tanya. Okay, ini melibatkan sedikit isu politik. Apa pendapat tentang kerajaan sekarang macam-macam melakukan, pemandu pun melakukan tentang isu rasuah, membantah rasuah. Tapi kadang-kadang cara government beri kepada rakyat, contohnya setengah rakyat mengatakan, Raja Petra mengatakan beri adalah rasuah, 500 adalah rasuah, bawa buku adalah rasuah. Okey, tak guna kalau pemandu melakukan macam-macam cara untuk membantah rasuah, tapi mentaliti rakyat mengatakan kerajaan masih melakukan rasuah. Adakah pemandu ada memberi cadangan kepada PM, maybe kepada kerajaan, cara-cara untuk lebih baik untuk memberi kepada rakyat?
I see. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Soalan right? Okay. Soalan ni ialah orang kata, you know the recent bantuan rakyat satu Malaysia. So kerajaan bagi bantuan rakyat satu Malaysia. Jadi orang kata, ni macam kerajaan rasuah rakyat je ni. Bagi macam-macam lah. Jadi the idea is that kalau kerajaan boleh bagi rasuah, kenapa tak boleh bagi? So that sort of a perception.
Perceptional issues.
Yes.
You know, Brim clearly, I think you mentioned it just now.
Okay.
See, as you said just now, right? There's rising cost of living. Rising cost of living is a global phenomenon today, right? But little known fact, Malaysian economy is driven primarily by domestic consumption, right? So our economy is strong. Our economy is actually quite strong, right? But we need to help people below the income or certain income level. That is exactly why BRIM is there, so that people can overcome this rising cost of living. Sebab harga minyak masak dah naik, harga gula dah naik, harga beras dah naik. Kenapa harga gula naik? Orang kata gula dari Malaysia saja, tapi orang tak tahu hanya 2% saja gula dari Malaysia. 98% diimport. We don't have sugar in this country anymore. It is imported. Hanya minyak masak sebab kita ada kelapa sawit. Beras pun kita import. So we are exposed to the growing cost of living. Jadi itu sebab kerajaan rip. Tapi adalah kalangan orang yang kata ini dia orang suka spin lah. Ya, dia kata ini rasuah. Tapi kalau kita tak bagi, macam mana kalangan orang miskin? Ya. So we have to think of poor people as well, at the risk of being charged with, we are trying to corrupt the people. We have to think of the low income people as well.
Okay. One question I think you raised, just a quick one before we go to the gentleman there. We're going to finish it soon because it's almost time. He says that, let's just say the government found out that, say you're a multinational corporation, you commit a corruption case overseas. We found out here in Kuala Lumpur, let's just say you make a very dodgy deal, say in New Delhi. Can MACC prosecute you?
Okay, this goes back to two specific acts enacted in US and the UK. US, it's called the Foreign Corrupt Practice Act. In the UK, baru-baru ini dia orang enact UK Bribery Act. Both of these allow for the source country to charge companies that are operating even in Timbuktu. Tapi the MACC Act doesn't currently have that. So this is something we've been working on. Can we revise the MACC Act to include elements of the UK Bribery Act as well as the Foreign Corrupt Practice Act? So we introduce corporate liability. So maknanya kalau you ada company dekat Malaysia, company incorporated di Malaysia, tapi you ada branch dekat UK, you bribe dekat UK, boleh di-charge di KL. So tapi kita kena amend peraturan itu.
Okay. As a gentleman on my right.
I have good evening. My name is Paul. I have three. Is real one. It happened in my life.
Okay, sure. I'll write down.
The first one is my father. He go long ago. So he Langka Lambu Mela. So he get the ticket. So but this happened is because he after work already 2 in the morning. So he until the crossroad there. So Lambu Mela lah. So he waited very long. So he left right, no car in the road. So then he go afterward. Then the police come and catch. So we say, oh, this might be Charlie Makan.
Yeah. That's
okay. Second one. I have been work in part-time job in this trade fair, like PWDC Mid-Valley trade fair for 3-4 days. So the boss, I asked the boss. So because their goods cannot come in because the custom block. So I said, hey, did this happen? Did this happen? You must give money. Like other country, like I don't. So he said, this very common one. Give they want, but because I earn can cover this. So no point for you. Okay, I think.
The third one.
Okay.
So kita kata.
I think I forgot. Okay, I come to a story because just now when you talk,
okay.
so it made me remember a story. So the story like when vampire hunter also he hunt the vampire day and night So one day he found out his close one is vampire. So
okay.
then what should this vampire hunter do? Like this is a moral
dilemma
then the second this one day this vampire hunter has hunt the Dracula. So but he managed to kill the vampire Dracula. But during the fighting the Dracula bite him. So at the end the Dracula died, but the vampire hunter become vampire, the new vampire. So this is all my question.
Okay, sure. I'll try to relate the vampire story to a corruption case, but let's go.
So who's the vampire here?
Okay, I think what he's trying to say is that now, in case you know how MACC officers they investigate big corruption cases. Now let's just see, are there any other mechanism or something to look after? What happens if the IO, the MACC investigating officer, has already been corrupted? So is there any check and balance towards that? That's how like the vampire hunter become the vampire himself. I think that's what you're trying to say, is it? Nice story, by the way.
Wow. To answer that vampire question, for your information, currently in MACC they have 5 oversight committee that oversee MACC. We never know about it, right? Little that we know.
Oh, okay.
5 oversight committee. One of the oversight committees is complaints committee. This complaints committee is actually internal affairs for MACC that actually looks into complaints made towards MACC officers. There are few cases that MACC officers got reprimanded because of comments made by the public.
I see.
So public can complain about MACC to the oversight committee, and they can take action. Just like that, we have put into every enforcement agency what we call internal affairs, right? Chief internal audit function, right? For police also ada, custom pun ada, immigration pun ada.
Police ada?
Yeah. Compliance units. So we have got the vampire hunters inside each one of this. Now the latest is Tan Sri KSN has also agreed that every ministry will get one of these units.
Okay, good question. Let's just say I have an issue with a certain police officer and I want to do it internally, means via PDRM as well and not through MACC. So how do I make this report? Do I go to Bukit Aman or do I ask? Definitely I'm not going to ask around because then people will know. So let's just say one of us has a complaint about a certain police officer. So how do we go about it?
There's a unit Tata Tertib Bukit Aman.
Oh, it's Bukit Aman, unit Tata
So
Tertib.
you actually go to this unit Tata Tertib and actually lodge your complaint.
Okay, sure. Okay, that's a good note. Write that down, unit Tata Tertib Bukit Aman. Hold on, I need to give the guy with the hat first. He should stand. Then I'll get back to you. Yes, sir. Okay, sure. All right.
This question is to Mr. Ravindran. And identity protecting.
Good question. The Whistleblower Protection Act ensures the rights of the citizen. As a citizen, you have the right to blow the whistle. Right? The reason we emphasize, please don't go to the media, please don't go to Pemandu, please don't go to Mr. Ravindran, is because your identity has to be protected. The main issue is your identity must be protected, right? And if you are part and parcel of that particular case, we need to switch you to witness protection. So your rights are protected. The problem is citizens don't follow. They will go and make a report in MACC, go out there to some blogger and so on. Sudah buat report, right? You've just blown your own identity.
Oh yeah, because whistleblower is anonymity, right? That's
Anonymity.
So if you are known, no point being a whistleblower anymore. Okay, boleh tahu tak? Okay.
Yes. As a whistleblower, you will be given either a number or details. So you will know your investigation officer. You can contact your investigation officer to understand what is happening to the case. Itu boleh. Tapi it is only between you and that investigation officer. Bukan investigation officer lain. So kalau you datang ke MACC, jumpa saya investigation officer, buat aduan dekat saya. Tapi besok jangan panggil dia di hotline dan kata, saya dah buat aduan, apa tindakannya? You've just blown your cover.
Sebab tu ada tata tertib tadi. Okay.
Itu, I agree lah. That issue is there. That
okay. Saya rasa macam tadi dah disebut tadi. Lah kita buat report, kita tak buat tinggal IO kita. Buat report yang mesti juga ada tata tertib tadi untuk follow up sekiranya rasa. Nak pergi ke surat khabar bukannya tak boleh. Beza dia, whistleblower act ni dia bergantung kepada tak tahu, melindungi identiti kita. Kalau bersedia, sebab bila identiti kita dah tahu, nanti masuk mahkamah nanti kita kena cross check dan sebagainya. Kalau bersedia tak apa lah. Yes, I mean, okay, I want to move to that gentleman over right here. Okay, sir. I think last question. I'm going to go for last one. Anyone, you better go to the mic now, or I'll finish it off. Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. Actually, frankly, I'm rather nervous to even mention this because I think it goes right to the top. But before that, I want to just say that I used to grow up reading this star columnist by the late Tan Chi Kun, and I think he called it "Without Fear or Favor." You know the column. I don't know whether you all remember it, but to me, for the Star to even publish that was those days was really something. I wonder whether you would dare to adopt this slogan or motto for, say, MACC or your agency, "Without Fear or Favor." You know. So now, what I'm trying to get at is, I don't know whether you're aware of this. The hottest topic now, in especially Swaram, or even the portal called Media Riot. I wonder whether you know what is the hottest topic. I think these are the 2 or 3 words that the present government dread the most to hear, you know, in Swaram as well as in the Media Riot. And I'm alluding to the sad to say this is resurface, pardon the pun, the Scorpion submarines. You know, this is gone, it's already like 10 years. And it's also tied up with you know, the Mongolian lady and all that kind of thing. So I wonder whether you will be allowed to, or I don't know, I might just be wasting my time here. I don't know whether you'll be allowed to comment on this at the present moment. You know, it's really astounding that this case is still not resolved yet, but it's being played up in the press nowadays, you know, especially by Swaram and Media Riot. Thank you.
This is something that I think MACC is currently investigating, so I'm not at liberty to talk about it, right? Because it's an ongoing case, ongoing investigation, so I'm really not at liberty to discuss it now.
I am, however, and liberty to discuss it. Sorry for Right, now the problem with this scorpion submarine is that, sir, sometimes there's a case, sometimes we wish there is a case because we want there is a case. If you understand that the scorpion submarine is more political than actually any corruption cases. For instance, they link it to the death of Altan Tuya. And Altan Tuya is known with Razak Baginda before that. One and foremost, I find it hard to find a link. Why would you need a Mongolian lady who is a Russian language translator to buy a submarine from the French? It just doesn't make sense. This is a logical thinking, logical thought. Why would I employ a Mongolian lady who can speak Russian to buy French submarines? That's logic number one. If I'm not mistaken, Razak Baginda said this during his press conference when he was released. He says that most of you Malaysian lords don't do your homework. I stand to be correct. I may be. He said that the Scorpion submarine Inc., because when you buy a big purchase, especially in the Ministry of Defense, it takes years to do it. It was signed before he even met Altan Tuya, if you follow the case. So it just doesn't make sense. Sometimes there's a problem with corruption. One is what you perceive. The other one is an actual case. So I think this case of Scorpion, because before that, Raja Petra Kamarudin said that it was actually the Sukhoi deal that linked to Altan Tuya. Now it's the submarine deal. My guess is after this might be tanks or maybe ships or whatever that seems convenient.
So even if you take the Mongolian lady out of the equation, it is a very, very huge sum. And Soren went on to call it the Great Malaysian Robbery, you know.
Yes, they'll call it many things. But the problem with this story is that whenever something is disproved, just because there's a big deal, say 1 billion, you'll just add it some. Oh, there's a 1 billion case. So it must be with the former defense minister. Or it has to be like that. I think we need to learn to be very objective about these things. Now, if you got your first story wrong, if you already got your first story wrong, chances are the variation of that story doesn't hold any more credibility after that. For instance, I say that you are linked towards a corrupted case of, say, you say, okay, you are the engineer who was corrupted because you built a certain building. And then you say, no, I'm not a civil engineer, I'm actually an electrical engineer. Oh, but still it's corrupted because maybe you were in part of it, or you know, that sort of deal. If the original story doesn't make sense to me, at least. But I think that if you feel there's a corruption, if you feel there's a sort of if there's a perceived corruption, please by all means be credible. If you wanna say a story about the problem with the Scorpion submarine, at least have a solid, and you know, oftentimes we see the stories progressive, following convenience. The guy who said that Altan Tuya was linked to Rosmah now says no. It's the same guy who runs Malaysia Today. So I find it a bit hard on that case, especially media or Suara. I guess so. But okay. Any other? I think the gentleman there has a question. Yes.
Yeah. I just want to know.
Yes.
This MACC, who's the boss of MACC?
Who's the boss of MACC?
Or rather, MACC, your team report to who finally for the ultimate authority?
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a good one.
MACC is led by a chief commissioner, Ketua Kursurajaya, right? His name is Dato Sri Abu Qasim.
And he reports to who?
He reports to the AGO.
Oh.
MACC is an independent unit.
Just now I heard you are talking that something decision that cannot be made in MACC, you got to report to the PM to make a decision.
Yeah. The database.
The MACC only reports to the PM's office for budget requirements. Because in government, budgets have to come under a ministry. So MACC comes under the purview of the Prime Minister's office for the budget.
Oh, I think he meant the database. Is that the database is not?
No, it's database cases.
Pemandu reports to Prime Minister. MACC
we report to Prime Minister. So basically, to get all the civil service to move. This wasn't an MACC issue. It was a civil service issue.
I see.
But I guess let me just also say something that I've lived outside Malaysia for 16 years. I moved back to Malaysia in 2010. at the request of Dato Sri Priscilla. Right? I never expected to return home. Right? I've had job offers. My last stint, I was actually running an airport. I was Chief Operating Officer of the Hyderabad International Airport. I'm from the aviation industry. Right? Yeah, I've lived in Singapore, I've lived in India, I've lived in the US, I've lived in Luxembourg, I've lived and worked in Luxembourg, I've lived and worked in Tokyo, in Bangkok, in Australia. Right? Malaysia is not perfect, you know, but I challenge our citizens if you can find a better country. You know, so it's time we start believing in ourselves, believing in what the leadership wants to do for this country, because it is what you want for this country as well. You can believe and discuss and talk about multiple scandals, and as you said, and in the beginning it wasn't true, it was never true, lah. You know. But it's time we also believed in ourselves, believed in the principles that our forefathers built this country on. Right? Look at that. That tells me that we are not doing our jobs as citizens, not the government. Huh? We as parents have failed. So let's start looking in our own houses and start addressing the issues. Corruption is one of those. You know, it starts at home.
I think that sums up brilliantly. Again, thank you for coming, both of you gentlemen. A round of applause to our guests here. Right, before we go, alright, I think most of you have known this, but I'll just announce it back. Do join us on our Facebook group, NRC11. If you want more updates, you can follow us on Twitter, NRC11 as well, twitter.com/NRC11, or you can go to NRC11.com. Right, I invite Dim, who will be doing the honors. We have a small token for you, two gentlemen over here. And no, this is not a bribe. This is no, it's below 20 ringgit, so I think it should be under the review. Okay, and then Pijo will pass you our NRC11 shirt.